Have you guys ever looked at your business and thought, man, on paper, this should feel better than it does, right? Maybe you've got some orders coming in, some revenue, customers are being served, but inside your energy's low, you're shaky, and late at night, when those quiet recesses you get, you start wondering if this business still, why that happens, why being stuck in your business often has less.
I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight. The power is strong, the vision so clear. Building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group.
Let's talk some business.
All right. Well, welcome into Small Business Saturdays. My name's Aaron Montgomery, and this space here is helping us build a business that we love instead of a business that drains us and steals our time, right? So, as Craig says, happy holidays to everybody. If you're tuned in live here, we're the Saturday before the big Christmas day coming up here. And every week, you guys, we want to talk to you about practical business strategies and clarity that we actually, follow the format, follow the concepts here in the fundamentals. And we also talk about that inner work that has to happen if the outer work is going to stay aligned. So today's discussion is definitely going to be a little bit more reflective. It's for those business owners who, again, maybe we're doing okay, at least on the outside. But inside, we're feeling a little bit stuck. We're tired. We're unsure. What's next, right, is the big question. And so we're going to talk about why looking back at past mistakes and the old seasons and the former version of yourself can really actually do more to keep you stuck than anything, and how choosing faith over fear helps you move forward with intention, even when you don't have all the answers. So let's dive into this. If you guys are tuned in live, I'd love to hear from you. As we do, we follow the cycle here of the fundamentals of business success, and plant is the first cycle. It's really about the mindset. And today I want to talk about awareness when it comes to plant, right? And I think most of us as business owners, we've been there, or maybe you are there right now. The day-to-day is rolling ahead. Maybe you have some orders coming in. You're kind of going through the motions, it even feels like. But on the inside, something's off, right? Your energy's low, like we talked about. Your confidence definitely feels shaky. Questions creep in about, is this business right for me? Am I good enough, right? Can I pull this off? And I've actually had several conversations this month, and even more, because we're looking at our goals versus reality and things like mode of understanding, right? Learning. We are so focused on what's behind us. We're looking backwards. We're basically, we're not even looking in the rearview mirror. We're like head over our shoulder here. I wanted to still speak into the mic, but we're head over our shoulder, turned back around while we're still going forward. Like we're going. Again, I'm sure it got really quiet there for a second, but it's like we're still going forward, yet we're turning our head completely backwards. We replay all of the things about what went wrong. That launch that maybe flopped, or the decision that you made that cost you more than expected, or the bad job you took on. The season where survival mode became normal, right? A lot of people just get themselves to that and they're stuck, and then they decide that's their story. I'm just going to always be in survival mode. I got to pay the bills. Fear starts becoming the only voice in your head. And yes, learning from the past is healthy and necessary, but living in it, right? Planting our flag in the past is extremely costly. It will be the biggest roadblock that you come across. Now, I see this play out all the time in real business decisions every day. Owners are hesitating to raise prices because one customer complained years ago about their prices going up. Maybe they avoid hiring people because a past hire didn't work out, and now they, I don't even know if I can manage people. It was a bad situation, right? It just, things didn't work out. What can we learn from it? Great. Maybe you're somebody that's holding back on marketing, or sharing what you do because it fell flat in the past. You felt like you were speaking into the void, right? And if that was true for me, we wouldn't be here today. I think I'm somewhere north of 300 episodes here now on Small Business Saturdays. And if I am concerned about the live look, how many people are tuned in live, heck, if I'm concerned about how many people are commenting, I would stop doing that right away. But the reality is that's not, the past doesn't matter. Even this present moment that just finished, it doesn't matter. Right. And so I know these things feel like caution. I know this looking back feels like caution, but really what it is just our inner human instinct to protect us from old pain, right? We want our internal body, our subconscious wants to keep us safe. And that includes from mental struggles, right? From feelings of pain, not just physical pain. And here's the truth that most of us don't want to face. Your business is not built from where you have been, right? Yes, there's learning there, but it's actually built on where you will be going. What is the future you going to be doing? Not what the past you did. The version of you who started this business, right? The version who made that mistake, who didn't share enough, who had a customer complaint, right? They did the very best in that moment to make the best decisions they could with the clarity and confidence they had at the time, right? And so that person is the old person. And if that person was you, right, even if you're still in that space a little bit, it does not disqualify you from being a successful business owner. It actually proves that you are a successful business owner because that was an action. To get those results, you had to take some action, right? So it proves that you were willing to act. And I want to give us permission, right? This is a little preachy right now, but the reality is we need that, right? I want to give us permission to change our minds, make decisions, restructure every day, right? Yes, we need to be consistent, right? And so I'm not saying that just every day change everything completely. And so consistency is key. But if we are looking forward, we can make adjustments based on what we learned yesterday and still be consistent in our forward moving action. So the consistency is important in the forward moving action. The consistency is not important in doing the exact same thing over and over again and expecting a different result because we're burying our head in the sand and not looking for the feedback. And so this is permission, right? Right now, here's your permission slip. Let go of the past, let go of the story, let go of the fear. Now you need to permit yourself to act based on faith. All right. So take that faith step. So that's we're thinking. So you're not letting the past quietly make your decisions for you. Right. That's important. And there we go. Tina, high five, big, huge high five. We're doing it. We're stepping forward into faith here. And Kylene says, I'm ready to step forward in faith. I love that. Thank you, Kylene. So again, the reframing here is how do we not let, yes, Craig, boom, moving forward in 2026. So the reframing here, the discernment is how do we not let the past make our decisions for you, right? And like you, I'm probably at the front of the line here, right? Holding the mirror up. I know that it's easier said than done to let go of the past. And so I want to give you guys a practical way, something that I've embraced to basically be able to say faith over fear. Now, let me first preface this by saying faith in business does not mean that we're pretending everything will magically work out, right? I don't want to create imposter syndrome for you. And I did that, right? And so let's get that part clear. Faith doesn't mean everything's going to magically work out. It really actually means that we're going to be willing to take a small step, one small choice. And I think the first choice we can make is just to choose clarity. Right? There was a reason that you started your business. There's a feeling inside of you. There's an excitement. There's a joy that we can use as an internal GPS system. And if we choose what that is, what does that mean? What's a step that I could take to feed that? Not the fear. Not the fear of, oh my gosh, this is going to fail. I'm going to lose out. I'm going to make a mistake. The reality is you've done all those things and you'll probably do more of them, right? And this is not to say that we don't know what we're doing. Even the most successful people fail more than they win, right? But they keep going and they go towards the win. And so if you've listened to me at all, anytime you've ever heard me speak, you know my first suggestion is always to ask more questions, right? And also asking better questions. So maybe start here. Instead of asking, well, what went wrong? Right? I did the social media post. I tried the thing. I listened to my mastermind group and it didn't go according to plan. Right. And our first question typically is, well, what went wrong? What's the problem? Let's go look for more problems. Do you not have enough problems? I got plenty of problems. I can hand you some of mine if you'd like. I want to say, what's the solution, right? I can ask a question that's going to get me way further along than what went wrong. Why don't I ask, what is being asked of me now? Right? What was I supposed to learn from that failure? And there's a principle in Proverbs, right? And Proverbs is definitely one of my favorite books of the Bible to really go back to when I'm feeling stuck. You can just crack it open anywhere and read something and go, oh my gosh, how did you know? Well, he's God, so he knows, right? But it says this, it says, let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly before you, right? And that's just God's way of saying your past, you've been forgiven, right? There's nothing, there's no errors that you made in the past. And so why are you looking back there, right? I taught you what you needed to learn from that error, from that mistake, from that challenge. Look ahead, look to me, right? And the thing about Proverbs, why I like cracking it open when I feel stuck, is it's not just poetic language, right? Yes, they're fun to read and they can be definitely very poetic. But if you look at it and actually understand, just like, don't overthink it. Go to the core of what just said. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Meaning, look forward. What's next? What's the future hold for me? What's my future self going to be excited about? Right. And so these proverbs are practical postures that we get to choose. And it's really an invitation to be present, aware, and forward focusing, right? Not, right? Nowhere in Proverbs does it say, hold on to your regret, be frozen by old mistakes, let fear rule your life. That is not what God wants for us. So I want to give you some simple ways to prepare yourself to move forward here. All right. This is kind of the strategy, the practical way we can look at this. And first and foremost is we have to separate learning from labeling. I've said this many times before, and I will continue to say this until I figure it out, until we all figure it out. But a past experience can teach you something without defining you, right? A failed launch does not mean you're bad at marketing. A bad hire does not mean you should never have a team. Those moments are strictly data, not identity. Strictly data, not identity. And so, like I said, you've heard me say many times here on SBS and in other places, the second we label a result as good or bad, we've lost every bit of value that thing has going forward. Our brain just is done with it. We're not going to learn anything from it. Right? The label of good or bad then becomes definitive. It tells the story, right? And that's all in the past. So I can't change the past. So it no longer needs to be your reality. That result no longer needs to be your reality, and you absolutely have the ability to choose differently. I think that was so like eye-opening for me once I finally started realizing this stuff. Was like, oh my gosh, I've had the power this entire time. Yes, there's difficult circumstances. Yes, things don't always go my way, but I have had the power in every moment to choose differently, even when it's hard to choose that next moment, right? Like sometimes it does take us turning the other cheek or stepping out of the blame game, changing the people that we're around, right? And these are hard choices to make, but they are still your choices to make, right? So choosing things like leaning into communities, right? I have fallen in love so much with this opportunity to be around supportive communities that that's kind of what I do now. I've got a Facebook group where we just focus on that type of stuff. I run mastermind programs. I'm focused on developing ways that people can better fall in love with what they get to do each day. That's my entire focus. And so you guys can facilitate that for yourself or just join me, right? Jump into the community, but you have to be active, right? You can't, and I know sometimes it feels like you're talking into the void, but you know what? Keep talking. It's going to happen, right? It will, all those little things add up over time. So that's first, right? Labels are not important. In fact, they get us nowhere. It's about the learning. What can you learn from it? All right. Secondly, it's time to name what no longer fits you, right? Burnout or these feelings that keep us stuck, they show up when maybe your business isn't growing as you have grown, right? Spiritually, value wise, just in your skills, right? Sometimes your business takes a little while to catch up. Maybe your values have shifted. Maybe your strengths have become more clear to you. Maybe your capacity is different because you've set boundaries, right? But naming what no longer fits you is not quitting. It's actually discernment, right? And that is important. Discernment is so key. Once we point out what it is that's no longer serving it, once we name it, then we can choose to see what's beyond it and focus forward, right? Because now I know what the obstacle is and I go, great. Fear of looking silly. Excuse me, you're no longer serving me, right? And so it's just a matter of time and faith that success will come, right? And so, for example, a mastermind business, a mastermind member, a business owner that I work with was struggling with her business because of a lot of shoulds, right? At the core of the conversation we were having, I should do this, I should sell this way. Oh, look at what this person's doing. I'm comparing myself to them, right? But when those shoulds were questioned, right? When we took a moment to slow down and go, okay, I know you're saying you should, but is that really true? Right? And it wasn't saying it wasn't true. It was just asking the question, is that really true? And when that moment to say, is that really true? Followed by, who are you? What is it that's important to you? What do you value? What are you good at? And she realized that those two things were out of alignment. The shoulds didn't match up to her strengths, values, and passions. And when that understanding showed up, now all the shoulds went away. We named the things that weren't being of value to her any longer. And it allowed her to live in her zone of greatness, right? And that's a constant thing. You have to do that constantly. You've built that opposite muscle for a very long time. And so you can't just go, oh, I had an epiphany, expect all things to be rainbows and ponies, right? It's one step at a time, and that one step is progress. And it wasn't an action that actually moved things forward. It wasn't the action that was the progress. It was instead naming it, seeing it, finding that clarity, and then being willing to take the next step, right? Because that next step felt very fearful still, but there was a brick of faith that was able to be stepped on, right? So that it wasn't the action, right? This is the part that I want you guys to understand. It's not that action. It's instead the naming of it and the stepping out of the fear onto faith, onto no matter what, he is good enough. Our God is good enough to get us there. And that's what the faith is all about, taking that step even when you're not sure what it is. Okay. Now, that's second. Third, that action, right? That faith step that we take, it needs to be taken from the present instead of the past. So if we take the faith step and we're looking backwards, right? And all of a sudden we realize, I don't know exactly where that faith step is, right? And so faith asks you to trust what you now know. Very important. Now, present, not yesterday, not the day before, what you now know, and then take the next step, even if that full path isn't visible yet. And when your action aligns with where you're going instead of where you've been, momentum is going to return. things are going to feel easier. And again, it's not about the action, it's really about the alignment. But it's going to feel like that action got you, oh man, I'm excited. Okay. And the energy starts coming back. And you get to first being where that falls in the alignment. If it no longer fits, throw it away. Right. If it does kind of fit, adjust it and then focus forward. Right. And then thirdly, take action from the present instead of the past. Right. The now, the present. Okay. So before we get into the now action section, right? We got our mindset, we got our awareness. Now we've reframed, we have a bit of a strategy to head forward with this idea. And I want to put faith into forward action here with some actual steps. And that's our pollinate section, right? So again, 3 cycles of the fundamentals of business success. If you haven't read it, just go to osg.link/bizbook and you can grab it right there on Amazon. Thank you, Kylene, giving us the comments here so we can put that in there. Let go of labels, identify what no longer fits, take action from the present now. Perfect. Love it. Thank you, Kylene. All right. Now, before we do this, though, I'm closing out the first round of business owners who are going to be so aligned they won't even recognize their past self. The Business Builder Accelerator is one of the most exciting programs I've been able to offer to give of myself. Right. And it does really allow me to truly, deeply, fully fall into the reason God put me on this earth. And so if I could just ask a favor of you, could I get 90 seconds of your time? Right. I want to just play a little bit of a video here that I put together kind of explaining it. Because again, I'm going to be closing it out this week and we're not going to have another cohort for a little bit. And so I need decisions to be made, at least saying, hey, I'm still interested, right? I can work with you on that. But if I don't hear from you at all, I can't work with you on that. All right. So just give me this 90 seconds and then I'll come back and I will give you the action steps to go faithfully into forward action. All right. Does that sound like a fair trade-off? I think it does. All right, here we go. Hey, business owners, I know it's that season. Maybe you've got too many tasks on your list, too many decisions that you're trying to make. I get it because I've been there. Would you prefer to have more clarity, more confidence, and really be working on what actually matters for you? The good news is you don't need more effort. You don't need another to-do list. You don't need some magic system or some business guru to tell you what to do. You need clarity. You need alignment. You need a foundation that fits who you are. Enter the Business Builder Accelerator. It's a 12-week guided experience that helps you build a business that fits your strengths, your values, and your passions. You're going to get clarity, you're going to get a clear plan, and a stronger mindset because you have a true understanding of your ideal customers, pricing that reflects your values and provides more profit to your business. Your to-do list is actually going to shrink as you give up busy work and focus on what truly matters for your business. If you're ready to gain that clarity, become more confident, and be more aligned in your business, comment fun or send me a message. I've been there. I didn't need the help. But once I finally reached out and said, hey, I need a different perspective, that's when everything changed. All right. I still laugh. I actually said this on yesterday's Two Regular Guys podcast when I was able to share that. When I said I didn't need the help, that was definitely in air quotes, right? I needed the help badly and I wasn't willing to ask for it. So until I finally did, oh man, unbelievable the change. So all you have to do, just raise your hand. We'll figure it out. Okay. I don't, I want it to be the right people. And so I'm not going to put people in it that aren't right. And I'm going to be very honest with you, very transparent with you. And we're going to give you the guardrails that you need to build a business that you love. Okay. All right. So osg.link /builder is where you can go check out a little bit more information if you need it, or just reach out to me. Like I said, next week, I'm going to be kind of putting the ending point on that. So you don't have to make a decision, but we do need to at least know that you're interested so we can kind of get that closed up with the holiday and stuff, everything in there. I want to give us time and space to make sure that we're ready to rock and roll come January 1st. All right. So let's pollinate, right? Let's get the action that we need here to take this faith over fear and to utilize this to really grow ourselves in our business. And so I want to talk about the action. And I want to be very clear here. This is not about having a perfect plan or suddenly feeling fearless, right? I wish there was a way that we could just throw on something and be ultimately fearless, going from fully fearful to fully fearless. But the honest truth is, faith doesn't care about fearlessness. Faith doesn't wait for certainty. It doesn't need it, right? Faith moves on its own with clarity. And so if you're feeling stuck right now, the most faithful thing that you can do is take one honest step forward, right? And I'll explain what honest means in just one second. But here's what that can look like for you. And this is where the honesty really starts, right? So just think about that point, right? I want to make certain that you guys are seeing all right, my day job no longer fits, and I have an interview on Monday. Okay, interesting, Craig. I hope that's a good thing, but we'll see. We'll talk more about that. All right, so real clear again, one honest step forward. All right, and so honesty is really important here. So and this is self-honesty, right? You guys are honest people. I'm not worried about you being honest towards me, and that's the funny part, right? Sometimes the most honest people, which are typically the heart center people that I get to be around, like you guys, are also the most not self-honest, right? I don't know a good way to put that, but we tend to lie to ourselves. We're people pleasing. We want to say it's okay. We want to give ourselves a bunch of grace, which is fine. It's perfect. We need to have that positive outlook, but we also need to be honest with ourselves. And so I think the first step that you can take is just choose one decision that you've been avoiding. Not all of them, not every single one. Don't bring this mountain of trouble your way or challenge your way. Just one. Maybe it's a pricing conversation you've been putting off. You need to tell somebody the prices have to go up this year, right? Maybe it's a boundary you need to set, right? Like, yeah, I've been giving them the signs, but have you had the conversation, right? Have you said, hey, I need this from you. If not, then we're not going to be able to do it this way anymore. Right? So set that boundary. Maybe a shift you've been circling but not naming. Right? I'll be honest. There's a shift that I've been circling but not naming for a long time. Right? And you've heard a little bit more of it here today. I'm trying to step into faith and out of fear myself, but I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the right people and helping the people that need help. And I'm going to be a little bit more forward about the fact that really Christian business owners are probably my ideal customers, right? And it doesn't have to be, it's not about the Christian thing specifically, but it's that heart. It's heart to know that we come from something bigger than ourselves, which is love, and how we use that, right? And the Bible gives us a ton of great tools that we can use, right? So that's a shift that I've been circling, and you guys are the first ones to hear that, right? 12:33 p.m. on December 20th, 2025. I named it. There you go. Right. And I survived. Scared the crap out of me. I even asked my men's group to pray for me today. Right. So ask yourself, if fear was not in charge, what would I do next? If fear was not in charge, what would I do next? Write that down. If fear was not in charge, what would I do next? And if something pops up for you, go with your gut, right? Eric says maybe it's a no list. There you go. Yes, maybe that's what we've been avoiding. Thank you, Kylan. I appreciate the support. Obviously, I need the support of my wife, and she supports me fully. So that was not my worry. That was not my fear. If fear was not in charge, what would you do next? And if something's showing up for you right now and you happen to be tuned in live, put it in the comments. I know that a lot of times people don't want to put stuff in front of me because I'm kind of known as the guy that holds people accountable. I'm not going to hold you accountable to this one, right? Because I just want you to name it and see what that releases. All right. So this is just for you. You put it out there in a public space, see what that fear releases for you. Right. And then we're going to let it go. You can decide when you're ready to be accountable to that. Right. But That's a little further down the road, and that's okay. All right, that's perfectly fine. All right, so that's first. Choose one decision you've been avoiding. Second, take inventory of what supports you where you're going, right? Like just take stock going, sometimes we do this as like a people list, right? We have an exercise in the fundamentals that we teach that we're going to be teaching in the accelerator of making a list of who our support team is and how we work that and have a way to really kind of define that and put ourselves around the types of people that we need, right? But what about your time, right? What supports your time? What supports, look at how you're using that time. Are there things that don't support where you're going that you're using your time for that you need to say no to, right? Eric brought up maybe it's a no list. We talked about that yesterday in Two Regular Guys. Maybe something that you're offering, maybe it's a product or service that you offer that you just offer because you were trying to keep up with the Joneses or you thought you should do it, right? And then most importantly, your energy. What is draining your energy? Which ones of your inventory here, right, are aligned with who you are, and which ones are still serving an old version, just kind of came along for the ride? It's really about noticing. Again, it's not about the actual action. It's the friction that's gone once you name it, once you take inventory, and then you notice what could be adjusted, right? Because until we get to that point where we really, truly, deeply believe that we can adjust it, then trying to force action is not going to work. All right. And then this is when then the next step, right? And again, honest action. This is where the next step comes into play. And so this might take you a little bit. This might take you a couple weeks or so to really kind of work through this. And again, I'm happy to work through this with anybody. Just reach out to me. We'll figure it out. Right. But the third thing is take one forward facing action as soon as you possibly can. Right. And so again, I'm not going to force anything on you. I'm not holding anybody accountable, but maybe you're further along than you realize, right? Once you understand some of these things, maybe you can make that forward facing action today. Maybe it's Monday, right? Maybe you got to give yourself a little time here and take a Sunday to kind of relax. But let's try not to push it too far away, right? And maybe it's just a few days from now. Maybe it's next week. Maybe you're really stuck and you've got to wait until the first of the year. Maybe that January 1st rollover is kind of a key initiator for you, and that's okay. But it doesn't have to be a big action, right? And so that's why I'm encouraging the action as quickly as possible. When this sinks in for you, take the action, right? Send the email, schedule the conversation to set the boundary, update the offer, get rid of it, block the time out on your calendar for me time or meetings, or I'm going to join that mastermind program. I'm going to show up fully. And so I'm blocking that time out and I'm not going to let any distractions get me, right? Small actions taken in faith build your self-trust faster than almost anything, right? So in this book, fundamental number 3 is reigniting self-trust. And at the end of the day, that will be one of the biggest drivers, right? If people can look at you and go, they trust themselves, right? It's not an arrogance. It's just they trust, they know, they have clarity in who they are. They're comfortable in their own skin. I think when we see people like that, we can look at them and go, I think they're going places. I want to hitch my wagon to that person. I want to be in that room having conversations with them. And so when you reignite that self-trust, that's the fundamental that's really going to carry you forward. All right. And then lastly here to make this a lot easier, right? I said, hitch your wagon. Don't move alone. Fear thrives in isolation, right? When we're all by ourselves, we're in that dark cave. Fear is like the voice is super loud, right? Faith actually grows in communities, right? That's why God said 2 or more people together in my name is a church, right? That's why community is so important to us. That's a human thing. And when we start sharing what you're wrestling with, all of a sudden it doesn't seem so difficult, right? We go, oh man, that does sound a little like when I was talking to my men's group today and I said, hey guys, I know this doesn't sound like a big deal to you, but I'm scared to death right now. And nobody is like, oh my gosh, you're such a, right? Because I stepped into the community, I led with faith, and I let somebody help me see what I couldn't see. And you were never meant to build alone. So if you don't have that perfectly safe space, that's okay. You do. I'm right here. Kylene's right there. Tons of great people around, but start in Facebook, right? Like I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but Facebook as a tool, when we use it in a certain way, can be wonderful. And so I think groups can be very wonderful when they're not hundreds of thousands of people and the conversation's very clear, right? Like the funny part is I know our group's small. We don't have a ton of conversation, but the reality is even as we do have more conversation, I never worry about having to moderate anything. Like we had somebody a little while ago just put a sales post in for their flooring thing, right? I could have deleted it and banned them from the group or whatever, but I just put a comment on it. I said, "Hey man, thanks for sharing. We'd love to have you more involved in the conversation. And then maybe your sales posts will land a little bit more." So they're learning. It's a completely safe space. So go over to the Entrepreneur Success Hub in Facebook and get active in there. osg.link/group. Get active in there. Jump in there. Be open. Be honest and willingly vulnerable. That's a hard thing to do. Trust me. We waste so much time on Facebook with the surface level stuff. Why not divert that time to value and benefit by skipping the latest trap or link or engagement hack and just start having real conversations? Being actually human on a human level is truly social, right? And isn't that what social media is supposed to be? I know that's not what it is anymore, but all right, let me hold on. I have to step down off my soapbox, right? That's some people don't actually know what that means. Does everybody here know what stepping off my soapbox means? I was surprised that people didn't know that. I just thought that was a common thing. I'd heard that my whole entire life. So if anybody doesn't know it, I will explain it. I apologize if I'm saying something that doesn't make sense. But anyhow, I'm off my soapbox here. As you put this idea into practice, just know that the goal isn't speed. It's forward facing. That's it. All right. Honoring the present moment by focusing on the possibilities of the next moment. That will create more speed than trying to go 110 miles an hour. Right? When your actions are rooted in where you're going instead of where you've been, forward movement becomes momentum. And that momentum becomes speed without the hustle and the business you actually want to own. All right. So as we wrap up here today, I just want to remind all of us something simple and grounded. And got the mirror up. You are not stuck because you're incapable. You're not behind because you missed something. And you're not broken because fear has been loud, right? Maybe you didn't reach your goals for the year. Maybe things didn't go as planned, right? That says nothing about you or your future, right? It really just opens up a space for you to ask yourself honest questions. Maybe there was something you needed to learn before things will actually, quote unquote, go as planned, right? Maybe the goal you had was close, but slightly out of alignment. Maybe you needed to learn more about your true value as a business owner. You are human, you are growing. And as much as I love setting goals and having our annual goals and whatnot, right? As a mechanism, as a tool, the reality of it is January 1st is just the next day on the calendar. So goals are still achievable. January 15th is just fine. January 1st of next year, just fine, right? Goals achieved are still goals achieved. And you, by looking forward, will, like underlined, hashtag, bold, italic, will achieve them if you're looking forward and you're taking action, honest action. All right. So your reminder this week is only this one thing. Stop letting the past steer the future. Choose one faithful step forward, write it down, take action from the present, not the old pain. No perfect plan is needed, just that first faithful step. So that's the one thing. Stop letting the past steer the future. Take that first faithful step. Now, if this conversation did resonate with you and you want support walking this out, right? I am, like I said, super excited about the Business Builder Accelerator. And it's open for a limited group of business owners who are ready to build from clarity instead of chaos. And if you watched that video earlier that I shared and you kind of felt that nudge, right? That's faith. Honor it. Step into it. Schedule a clarity call with me. If you get to that button and you go to the calendar and you're like, oh my gosh, Aaron's doesn't have any time, reach out to me, right? I try to keep it as open as possible, but the reality is I give myself breathing room, but that breathing room is to be able to talk to people like you. All right. So just reach out to me and let's explore what alignment could look like for you in your next season. And I do want to once again just encourage you, hopping back on the soapbox real quick, but just stay connected. Join us over at the Entrepreneur Success Hub. And it's a safe place to be honest, ask real questions, and move forward in community instead of isolation. So use it, utilize it. It's yours. It's not mine. It's not a place for Kylene and I to post stuff. We're trying to encourage you guys to have the deeper conversations, right? But you've got to participate. Okay. So soapbox done. Again, osg.link/group. Next week, I will be back. It does look like we will be back live. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm actually live. And I guess you guys noticed that since I'm replying to the comments. But we'll be back for our final Small Business Saturday episode of 2025. And we're actually going to build on today's conversation in a very important way. We'll be talking about how to discern truth from the lies in your inner voice, how to recognize what is aligned, what is grounded, and what is life-giving, honestly. And then the other side of that, which are the fears, the distractions, the distortions, the lies. How do we discern between the two of those? That space that we left for honesty earlier, right, now becomes a really fertile ground to start the growth that's needed to become that future you once you start discerning that, right? So we'll talk about taking that faith, this faith step that we're taking, and building and learning how to listen to what's true and not what the enemy's twisting on us, okay? So it is important to start with an honest evaluation and then just letting go of the story. As Christians, as believers, we call it repentance and renewal of the mind, right? It's about more than just stopping a bad habit. It's about replacing the lies, the enemy's lies, with the transformational power of the truth, of God's truth. So you can lead your business, your life with clarity and peace, right? It all works together so nicely. And I love it so much the more I learn. So please come head trash. Yep. There you go. I like that. Head trash. The head trash that's in there, the itty bitty S word committee, right? All right. So you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys being here with us. Come back next week and we'll get it's a little bit spiritual, and we'll get the power that puts your work, puts this truth to work in our businesses. And so I'm really looking forward to closing out the year with you in that space. So until next time, please take that next faithful step. Your future you is waiting for you. I know it. It's just around the corner waiting for you to show up. All right, you guys, love it. Have a great rest of your Saturday.
Dark days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through.